So basically, we see a reverse of a disco worth having. We're starting to see what a disco not worth having is all about. We're starting to see the enactment. We're seeing the enactment of a disco not worth having. The Tesco Athena on Ida disco. Where everywhere you look, like I said at the flat, is some sort of manifestation of the architects in one way or another. A member of the staff here was put up to saying, as we know, my staff. Well, it's not their staff, is it? It's the architect's staff, and ultimately Kath Merrick's staff. We know this. This goes without saying. And this is why, for example, we get the toilet, which will eventually seep into the bedroom area. I'd have thought, they've engineered, planned anything, have we? And that sort of thing. Frustrating, is it? And they've engineered the toilet to be anything other than a symbol of civilization. So when you go for a slash, you're supposed to go all Kath and Wayne and Nikki and Stephen, essentially all chinky, all that. There's this, and I suppose I've got to say this. There's this Negro, she's a bit of a thick set one, and again, I'm sure I've got this really involved relationship with this individual, but it's like with all of them. They try to build up these events and so on and so forth. As you know, there are different ways they've got of trying to, manipulate my thoughts, my moods, my emotions, my psychology, just about anything, my physicality, just about anything. And so now it's a case of, well, when that takes place, just go with it, see what happens. If they're going to pull stunts like that, then I've got very little control over that. So just go with it, and you might as well. It looks like this morning I said that I'd have to adapt to having no leave. Well, they pull these stunts, and I've adapted to having no leave. So however long they keep me here, sort of thing. It's basically them running the show. They think, but it's effectively the architects running the show. They are working in the services of architect power. Make no mistake about that. There's no two ways about that. Everything that goes on here is just a manifestation, emanates from the architects. Now, the shrink yesterday, as I'm sure you're aware, one of the shrinks, or one of the scientists, or whatever they are, said, it's about the here and now. Well, yeah, but you've got to have a here and now that actually makes sense. And me being here suggests that they've fucked up the here and now on their end. Me saying you're full of shit to them is effectively a way of saying, well, you're stuck with architect power, and there's nothing I can do to pull them out of it. Basically, they went with it. They've got to figure out a way for themselves, but because it's easier to take me out, they're doing that sort of thing and then running around off the back of that. So it's a great way of doing things. You've even got like Negroes from the colonies running around at the behest of a twisted ginger from Stairport on 7 Boy Forest, Worcestershire, and her cohorts. Negroes from the colonies, right? They might as well stay stuck with sticking bones through their fucking noses, this lot. But that's the way it is, and But yeah, it's like the propaganda and the the show, the desire to have. Is it? Seems that way to me sometimes. But anyway, when that type of stuff isn't happening, like with the toilet, a disco not worth having, the Tesco Athena disco, which is essentially what this is. We've got another, we had. You get these different ones coming out at different times. It's just like, you fucking what? But anyway, the important thing is, one of the important things is, so now I sort of compartmentalise that type of stuff, and they'll, will they try and work around that to try and try to build up big deal dramatic moments? But anyway, you compartmentalise that stuff. I won't be getting leave, I'd have guessed, on the basis of stunts they pull. I won't be, when they pull these stunts, I'm going to go with it wherever it leads and see what happens and so on and so forth. They may say, well, which is a really rational response to it. You compartmentalise and you sort of approaching it in a way that's about as constructive as you can get in those circumstances. And yet, my guess is they may well turn around and say, well, how are we going to hype that up? Sort of thing. Is it? Or how do we deal with that? Or which would be more constructive? But I don't think they can from within. From what I see from within, architect power. From within the context of CAF power, architect power, Wayne, Nikki, Stephen and their cohorts, I don't think there is a way for them to figure out, well, actually, we're fucked. This is one of the reasons why I'm here, sort of thing. They've concocted all this, so they've got to have some payoff, haven't they? That's not exactly life, is it? That's not exactly how life is lived. That's not exactly realistic. But they've been pulling stunts today, for example, around me. For example, if I was to say something like, I don't know, pluck something from the air that was a thought earlier, whether it was mine or not, I wouldn't know. But it comes to something when you're in a supposed nut house, and you say, actually, I'm not Jesus Christ, and they use that potentially as a pretext for keeping you in longer. This is the Middle Ages. This is the 1950s. It's a combination of the Middle Ages and the 1950s. Cum-filled socks, wherever you look. Essentially, and including Negroes from the colonies, running around to protect an uber-conservative, repressed, frustrated character that is that Kinga from Stairpole and her cohorts. And that's the way, however long I'm going to be here, I don't know. But what I've also been looking at is some of their chemicals. Now, it's quite evident that like I keep saying, the work I did at the flat was really impressive. Really impressive. But it was maybe too much too soon. So maybe something just to slow things down, calm things down for a period of time, and as they come off, sort of adapt to that over not too long a period of time, but long enough, and as the volume goes up, they project their voices. So we'll hear Alan is one who likes to go around with the stereo on and while I'm doing videos, but that's it's no big deal. Basically, fart cushions, stink bombs, and running around, sticks and stones will break my bones, but nails will never hurt me. So basically, as I get the chemicals to and so on to affect how I do videos. But anyway, so working with the chemicals for a bit to see if that will work. They put me on them anyway. They were always going to put me on them. They're that fucked up, these people. And so just work with it for a bit. The chances are, because they work themselves up, because they pull all these stunts and they never really go anywhere, they're going to up the chemicals. There's a chance of that, isn't there? And there's a chance of them off the back of me saying, well, temporary. I wouldn't mind temporary for a little bit, just something. I don't care. I don't really care what it is. That just sort of makes the transition from the amalgam to and surpassing the architects in my own way. Maybe not in a way that will satisfy the scientists and the rest of them, the media and so on, but in a way that satisfies me. I may need something to just adjust that. Personally, I don't think I do. If I've said countless times before during the amalgam years, that if all this shit wasn't going on, then where's the issue? It's like, anyway. Yeah, and saying that I'd work constructively with the staff here, again, on the basis of what I said in a meeting with these scientists yesterday, and throughout today, it's evident what goes on. We all know what goes on. We all know the shenanigans and the concoctions and so on and so forth that are designed to, well, just essentially, whether they like it or not, whether they know it or not, these people just keep architect power and essentially, ultimately, Kath Merrick's power in place. You see it in the nature of these people, pretty much all the time. It's a sack of shit. It's basically name calling, fart cushion, stink bombs. Kath Merrick and her Ferrero Rochers. God, Kath, with these Ferrero Rochers, you're really spoiling us. That sort of thing. And and it's okay. So when I'm pissed off, I say things like, which is accurate. To use the term murder, for example, they murdered my dad, they murdered my mum, they murdered me. To use that metaphor, and they were more than happy to use themselves. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a sack of shit for them. Unfortunately for them, but or maybe fortunately for them. Who knows how fucked up they are these days. But yeah, and basically then they bring you to places like this, they drug you up and so on and so forth, and then they pull all these stunts. But now, this is the thing, right? So yeah, so now I can compartmentalise those times when they're doing that. This is how you adapt. This is how you have to adapt to situations like this, I'd argue. So you adapt, you just do whatever. And what exactly can they do? Well, they can say, right, you're not going on leave. You're having food in your room. You're going to be locked in your room and stuff like that. They could eventually get to that stage. But who gives a shit? Me, I could be at that flat, a disco worth having, instead of all this boring crap. Boring plus boring equals boring. And so on. Like I said, it sounds to me, because I did have a discussion with the one who said it's her staff, that they're her staff. We know that's a sack of shit, don't we? It's essentially the architect's staff, when you really boil it down and see it for what it is. The architect's staff, the ultimately Kath's staff. They couldn't deal with someone like that. I can, and I could have, and I could. They couldn't, and they can't. So what do? They bring, instead of bringing the person who started all this, and who it essentially comes from, they bring the person she targeted down this place, which seems a bit crazy. And then like treat me as if I've got the psychological, emotional, philosophical profile of Kath Merrick and other elements of the architects. Sounds like a great way of doing things to me. But like I said, the Middle Ages are alive and well in Worcestershire, Britain, America, just about anywhere you may wish to mention that the architect power has a grip on. The 1950s has a significant showing. And incidentally, I did look up things like the carrot and stick approach, like the old ways of the British military, for example, which ties in with these Negroes from the colonies running around at the behest of a twisted ginger from Stareport who happened to be married to a member of the local constabulary and worked for the local NHS. And incidentally worked for Oxfam. And then for years they sat there all besotted with this individual and with a cohort. Not least the rest of the architects. That's the way it is. So basically off the back of that, bit of a moan, and good to get that stuff off my chest to look back for future reference as well. When I'm able to, thinking about these chemicals. Okay, they may serve a function for a short period of time, but it shouldn't be too long. They may well rail against that in their interests again. They may try to portray it as in my interest, but it's not. It's clearly not. They may... chances are they've already planned future periods of me being here, or they're in the process of planning it, or when I leave here, they will start planning that sort of thing. These are the things you've got to consider, considering how many times they do bring me down to this place. We're talking about people who wanted to bring things to the boil and see what happened. Well, what's happening?